Hey everyone, I hope that you're all doing well. I just wanted to check in now that we have completed the first week of class. So we're halfway through Unit 1 in our Latin American history class. Up to this point, we've done the introductions on the discussion board and a couple of posts on Twitter where we've talked about how we define history and historical thinking. And so there's been some great conversation going on Twitter. I added some posts this morning, and so I look forward to hearing more of your thoughts and ideas about um, how to study the past from a critical angle. It's been great to get to know you as well through your introductory discussion posts. I enjoyed reading about all of the places that you have been, your connections to Latin America, even if you haven't traveled there. And I really am excited to learn from your insights on Latin America's history over the next couple of months as we work through our course together. Um, I did go ahead and post scores for Twitter and that first discussion assignment. Those were due last night. As I've noted other places, there are no late penalties in this class, however, so you can still submit any work that you've missed for credit, for full credit. Um, I did put in the zeros in the grade book just so you'll recognize that a due date has passed so that you can kind of gauge where you're at in terms of the flow of the course. Um, if I just haven't seen you yet on Twitter, please mention me in a tweet. My handle is at CNMBrandon, or email me your Twitter handle. Also, I don't think this was the case in our class. It was one of my other classes where there were people who use pseudonyms on Twitter, which again, that's fine. I encourage you to do that if that helps, if that's what you need to do on Twitter, because it's not a place where we naturally feel comfortable, and I recognize that. If you have any concerns about being on Twitter, even with a pseudonym, please reach out and let me know, and we can work things out. But again, going back to that, if you are using a pseudonym, make sure that you've emailed me to let me know what your roster name is so that I can be sure to give you credit for your work there. Um, Thinking about historical study, we've thought about the ways that um, the study of the past is subjective, and it's something where we have to be critical of our own lens on the world as we look at the past. I think that's one of the keys to trying to figure out and arrive at the fullest picture of what happened in the past, besides taking into account as many perspectives as possible. We have to recognize that we bring certain biases to our understanding of the past, and we need to, if not completely step out of those, because that's why the study of the past isn't objective. It's virtually impossible to do that. But if we can recognize the things that shape the way that we look at the world and the way that we therefore look at the past, that will help us all the more to look for new perspectives, ask new questions, and gain a deeper understanding. That'll be super important as we study Latin America this semester. We'll be looking at a selection of primary sources and secondary sources for every unit. The Wood and Alexander book, Problems in Modern Latin American History, that contains excerpts from both types of sources, so we get the perspectives of historians and look at how the ways that historians have thought about the past has changed over time. That's something called historiography. But we'll also get the words of people who lived through certain events and certain time frames so that we can kind of better understand the way that the past looks from both of those angles and get a broader perspective on what was going on. As we continue with Unit 1, this next week will be dedicated to the discussion of how we define Latin America. So you'll be reading the introduction in the Chastain book. I've provided a link to a digitized older edition of that book if you don't have yours yet, so that you can complete that assignment. If you have other than the 4th edition, it may not be Chapter 1. It may be titled Introduction. And so there were a couple of editions where the chapter numbering was a little bit different than the current one. But if you're reading whatever the first thing is, where it talks about what he means by saying that Latin America was born in blood and fire, you'll know you're in the right place, no matter what edition you have. If you have questions, though, about any of that, please reach out and let me know. The other assignment for next Sunday is to put yourself on our class timeline on Tiki-Taki. And so that has the purpose of helping us kind of see ourselves in the history that we're going to be studying, but also to help us get started using Tiki-Taki. I know that's new for many of us. There is a tutorial video available. For that, please disregard the references to Blackboard in that video. I'm hoping to make a new one soon. But again, there's a tutorial for that, and I have screenshots embedded in the section of Unit 1 where you're going to be adding your own entry to the timeline. So that's where we're headed. That's how we'll round out Unit 1. And again, whenever you have questions or need a little help, please don't hesitate to reach out via email or text message or even on Twitter. That's what I'm here for, and I'm happy to help.